First of all, we would like to establish this kind of format at EuroDIG meetings, that European NRIs are regularly meeting during EuroDIGs and also hopefully during the global IGF. And secondly, we believe that we have a very unique opportunity this year with the global IGF taking place in Europe, that we could actually showcase the work we are doing, showcase in a way that as I mentioned already, Europe is the continent or the region with the most national and regional IG initiatives. I really believe that our way of keeping discussions going on even in difficult times, the ability we have in Europe to do this, brings us kind of in the forefront of leading internet governance discussions, although in Europe there are not the big high-tech industries companies, they came from another region. But I think in terms of internet governance discussion, we could really add value to the global community. And I would like to brainstorm with you what we could actually do in action in Geneva. First of all, do you want to do something together? And if so, then I would like to find out what we can do together. I have not prepared any proposals, anything. The only thing I would like to draw your attention to is the spreadsheet where most of the European initiatives already filled in what they had been discussed or what they had been focused on in 2016, and some of them even updated it for 2017 already. And this could be one thing to walk along the lines how we could present ourselves in Geneva. But I would actually like to stop here already and would like to open the floor and would like to hear your suggestions, your thoughts, what you would wish like or how you could think could the European community undertake and do in Geneva besides throwing some drinks to the community. Who wants to speak? Louise.
Yeah, thanks. Is this on? Okay. It's Louise. I'd like to speak in my personal capacity because obviously in the board, this is so I'm a member of the ICANN board, but this is obviously none of our business because we have a different responsibility. So I think it's a really good idea to try to do something with Europeans. I've attended 2 global IGFs and some local ones. And one of the advantages I think we have in Europe is that the multi-stakeholder model seems to work pretty well. In certain parts of the world, for example, civil society is not very well developed or not very well financed. In other parts of the world, there's a tradition of looking to the government for everything and not countering what the government does. And I think in Europe, we basically have a good chance to get it right. And that means that if we cannot manage to organize, effective answers to serious internet challenges in Europe, then, I mean, I don't want to be too dramatic, but then the rest of the world is doomed, So I think we have a huge responsibility. And I always believe it's good to lead by example. And so one of the things that I found frustrating about attending different IGFs is that there are a lot of people around the table, but we don't always get concrete results. And I would hope that we can focus a little bit on how to make sure that we go from identifying problems, identifying challenges, to actually solving them. And one of the challenges we have, of course, is that even though we want to be very multi-stakeholder, not everyone is always here. I don't know how many people, for example, from the private sector are here at this EuroDIG, but it's one of the things that is disappointing, because if they're not there, then we can talk all we want, but then we're missing, a key partner. So I think this is really important to see how we can improve their participation. I mean, one of the things you could do is simply I think what Theresa May now said, basically saying, Facebook is creating a safe haven for terrorists. So if you organize an IGF session saying, Facebook is legitimizing terrorism, I think they would probably show up and be part of the debate. So, if you make it very concrete, very, and a little bit more, prickelnd, a little bit more, challenging, stimulating, then that could probably dare them to be really a part of it as well. The other thing that I find challenging is that some of the problems we run into on the internet, because they have a law enforcement aspect, need to be solved by governments. And when governments are not doing their job, that gives certain governments the legitimacy to say, oh, but there's a huge problem on the internet, be it terrorism, be it pedophilia, be it copyright infringements, be it et cetera, et cetera. But it's because they are not having a multilateral treaty, against cybercrime. It's because their law enforcement is not working together. It's because governments are not doing their job that they can then point to us and say, hey, you guys are not fixing it. But we can't fix some of these things because there is no multi-stakeholder police authority. There is no multi-stakeholder or technical, law enforcement or anything like that. So I would really like us to get more concrete, to define what the problems are, and then to say that, if we don't come up with concrete solutions or ideas for solutions or directions for solutions, then we have to be careful about just sitting around talking, because a dialogue can be very, vrijblijvend, very non-committal in the end. It's important to have a dialogue, but in the end, if we're not actually solving real-life problems, things that are happening on internet governance, then we are giving an excuse to those who don't support the multi-stakeholder model and who don't like the way that we're approaching it, to go and say, look, it's not working. And I don't want to give those, especially governments, that excuse to point to say it's not actually working. So I think I feel a sense of urgency to do it. I think that there's many things that are going really, really well. Coming from outside of the whole internet sphere, I was amazed to learn about the whole notion of multi-stakeholderism, how it works, how there's a dialogue, how global it is. It's one of the few things that actually works globally. It works really well. So I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing it. It's just that I think we could do even better. It's a wonderful, wonderful system, a wonderful model, but I'm afraid that if we don't now go take it to the next level, then we're giving an excuse to those who are actually trying to kill the model, and that's what I'm worried about. So I think it's great that we're having this meeting, and I hope there will be a lot of cool, concrete ideas. And as I said before, I apologize because I have to get onto a call, so I'm really sorry I have to leave. But if anything, I hope we can strengthen the model and make sure that it becomes an example for the rest of the world and other sectors, rather than an excuse for certain governments to say, hey, let's put this all under UN control, which is, I think, still a risk.
Thank you, Lucevis. One thing I actually forgot was to do a quick tour the table, and maybe you started already, Lucevis, from Mike and board. Shall we go that way?
Adam Peake. I'm now living in Europe, so some of you may know me from other parts of the world. Amsterdam. 3 weeks and 3 days, counting. And so I've moved from Japan, and I'm responsible for civil society academic engagement with ICANN, which means very much the national regional IGFs, particularly in this region. I work with Jean-Jacques Sahal, so if you're looking for support in various ways, then we're always there for speakers and general ideas and so on. And I very much agree with Lucevis. I wrote some similar things about commonalities, differences, and my own note was solutions, but in bold. So I think those are the sorts of messages, not so much on reporting, but where are your commonalities, where are the differences, and then what are the solutions that we can look to? And I would emphasize that the private sector is, you can see the attendance record that Chengetai's Secretariat makes available, and you can see that the percentage of private sector is dropping quite significantly over time in the IGF, and encouraging European private sector would be extremely valuable. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Auke Pals. I'm a student, entrepreneur, and now also organizing the Dutch Youth IGF. Yeah, I'll make it a quick round.
Hi, hello. My name is Charlotte Simões. I'm representing one of the organizations from the government side that is co-organizing the IGF from Portugal.
Hi, my name is Raida Frias. I'm on behalf of the Spanish IGF, and I'm supporting them with the international part.
Hi, my name is Liana Galstian. I'm from Armenia, representing Armenian IGF, and also a member of Executive Committee for EuroDIG. Thank you.
My name is Mert Põder. I'm from Estonian Internet Society and some other local similar organizations.
Sorina Delanu, Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance. And one quick comment, because I've heard a lot about governments and private sector being less represented. We had a big surprise at EuroDIG this year to have more private sector and more governments than civil society, which is the first time for us. We usually had a lot of civil society and not the others, but this time it was the other way around. So something is happening in our region. Finally.
Hello, everybody. This is Jorge Cancio from the Federal Office of Communications, Switzerland. And, well, I'm here very fittingly seated next to Cengeta Masando, because this year we are together organizing the Global IGF in Geneva from the 18th to 21st of December. I'm also active in the ICANN environment because I'm the Swiss representative in the Governmental Advisory Committee. But returning to the IGF, I think it's very important that if we want to have more representation from the business sector, from the private sector, from governments, we also have to tackle the issues that are really relevant to them, which are really burning on their fingers. And I think we have made a good choice with the overarching theme for 2017, which is to shape your digital future. You can put lots of things under that, but it's the main intention, I think, is that we talk about not so much about the esoteric issues around internet governance, which interest perhaps only a few experts, but that we really tackle the issues that are related to digitization, be it hate speech, be it fake news, be it how the digitization is affecting how democracy, how public opinion is being framed and transformed. Or be it also the disruption and the transformation of traditional economic sectors, which go well beyond the traditional online platforms. And if we really help to make that program really attractive and to gather the relevant people around the relevant topics, I think that the discussion will attract the right people and also will help us to shape the future and shape the decisions that will be taken both by national governments, by multi-stakeholder processes, or by international organizations. But okay, I'll leave it by that and give it over to Cengeta.
All right, thank you very much, Jorge. My name is Cengeta Masango from the IGF Secretariat. Unfortunately, Anya couldn't be here. She's given me very strict instructions that I have to say some things. Oh, yes, so she's listening, so I better do. First of all, I'd like to agree with Elizabeth that this is a great opportunity, especially not just because we're holding it in Europe, the IGF annual meeting, but also this year we've made a lot of effort to give the national and regional initiatives a lot of space during the annual meeting. So this is the opportunity for you to show what you can come up with in the program, and then if this is successful, of course, you could be given more space in the coming years to follow. And I'd also like to also mention that it shouldn't just be for this year. You should be thinking of what you do this year would lead into some activities for next year, because we're trying to build a multi-year program instead of this, 1 year we finish and then we start again. No, we're trying to build a multi-year program. Hopefully, Anya, is that good enough? Okay, right, thank you, bye.
Hi, Giacomo Mazzone from European Broadcasting Union, but also I'm here because I'm among the group that creates EuroDIG, and I'm deeply involved in the IGF. And also I'm among the organizers of IGF Italia, even if I'm living abroad. I want to use this opportunity to answer to a misunderstanding that there is about the scarce presence of European business entities. Apart of that EBU, we have also commercial entities, so we represent also that. I think that the main problem is that currently the European enterprises are discouraged to intervene in the internet field, because within the ICC, that is the body that allegedly represented the business entity, and we are a member of it as EBU. In reality, the European entities doesn't count nothing. This body, since 3 years, it doesn't keep us a General Assembly, no elections. Now that the president is dead, probably we will have to be asked for having an assembly. But in reality, there is not really a big dialogue within the business community and not a big participation. And I think that this will continue like that. And you can imagine which are the reasons. So I think that if we really want to solve this issue, we need to go to the roots of the problem. If not, it will continue like this forever.
Yeah, hi, Yrjö Länsipuro from next door, that is to say from Finland, ISOC Finland. I very much agree with what Luzmi said about the need to advance from the dialogue to concrete action. But I mean, we have been basically trying to solve this dilemma for more than 10 years now. The conflict between the original mandate and the needs and requirements of today. However, I'm hopeful. I mean, we are advancing, and if we look at the road that has been traveled since 2006, it's enormous. We've really come a long way.
Hello, my name is Marina Sokolova. I'm from Baltic Internet Policy Initiative, but I'm here because of the Belarusian IGF, which took place for the second time this year. I am not a member of organizing committee. Unfortunately, they did not have an opportunity to come, but just they delegated me to express my impression of the IGF in Belarus. And I would say that, again, the context in different countries is different. And in Belarus, the major initiators of IGF, they were from business community. And the first one was mainly organized top-down by the government and business. This year, there was a big participation of the civil society. So, and I think that, again, the major challenge for Belarusian IGF, and I think that for many national IGFs it's important, or for many new national IGFs it's important, just to make an IGF, national IGF, not an event, but a process. Something that does not only occur once a year, but something which should raise awareness of the numerous issues concerning internet governance. And in my part of the world, the most difficult thing to understand is this multi-stakeholder partnership. So I think that this concept is not simple. as it is even more difficult to realize, to bring it into reality. But still, there are some parts of the world where even the notion and understanding of this new kind of partnership is absent. So if we speak about the NRI part in Geneva this year, so maybe we can just think about multi-stakeholder models in various contexts, in various national contexts, because everywhere they are different. So thank you for your time.
Hi, I am Oksana Prihodko. I am from Ukraine. I am director of international non-governmental organization European Media Platform and a member of IGF UA steering committee. I would like to say that we submitted our proposition to Anya for IGF in Geneva, and would like to ask Sandra to include our proposition into this table. It was about fragmentation of internet. This proposition was provoked by the decree of our president regarding blocking of some Russian internet platforms. But during discussion in our steering committee, it was revealed that the blocking by itself could not result in fragmentation, but a lot of other aspects, gender, age-related, social, cultural aspects of reacting on this blocking really can result into fragmentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this extended tour de table. I want to pick up what Chengentai said. He said the global IGF is giving more space to the national and to the regional, which is good because they have been, or the mark has been recognized that the work or the input global and regional IGF, global and national IGFs are, national and regional IGFs are giving to the global one is of great value. So my question would be now very concrete. What are we going to do with that space, with that additional space? I could think of a kind of European forum, or let's call it whatever it is. But what are we going to do in that session? Are we going to do process? Are we going to meet just to discuss? Or are we going to discuss real topics which are somehow of concern for many or for a majority of people in Europe? What are your thoughts on this? What would you like to discuss as a European community in Geneva this year? And then maybe make a model case out of this and work along the lines and do that similar in the next coming years.
Here we see on the screen. Hi. Now it works? Yeah, good. Thank you. On the screen, we see the last year topic which we had discussed for national IGFs and national and regional from European region, which were the hot topics, and this was done by national IGFs provided. So I really like that format when we have revealed the topics of interest from national IGFs, and we can have that open forum and bring to the discussion the hot topics and the challenges what we have in our countries. For example, Marina told about Belarus IGF and about the multi-stakeholder thing, that it is not a common thing, or it's not that much understood for the community, for all stakeholders. But for Armenia, for example, we have this permanently working group, Internet Governance Council. So we succeeded in this thing. That would be really good to share some opinions and to bring the topics of challenges and maybe success as well, so that the other countries know what is done in other countries. This is my suggestion. This format was great for the previous year, so we can repeat it.
We as European NRIs are quite good in finding each other. So the public and the private parties can meet up easily in Europe, I guess. But at the international IGF, it would be maybe something like a best practice forum. We can do something like that to show how we in Europe collaborate between the public and the private parties in the multi-stakeholder model. Because in the Netherlands, we are having an organization that's actually facilitating the public-private table. So maybe we can share something of that on the international IGF.
This is a comment as someone who's been an audience member at some of these meetings, and also before joining ICANN, I was a member of the early MAG and then did some consulting work with Changatai. One of the things that I enjoy hearing is if the discussion is between you about, well, you know, what's happening in your region and the experiences of Armenia. I'm interested in the discussion. I'm not probably going to be as interested in a PowerPoint presentation from Armenia, and I'm not picking on Armenia, so I do apologize, but you know, I don't really want to hear a PowerPoint presentation of what you do. What I would love to hear is a discussion of you asking questions of each, you know, we have this problem, what is your answer? And I think we have the risk of doing a reporting on these issues, and that can be a bit deadly, or not so interesting, I should say. But if you could make it a discussion and a learning experience, that is extreme, that is valuable to all of us. But if it can live in a PowerPoint presentation, let's not do it, is what I'm trying to say. So we don't need a listing of what you did, but understanding the differences, asking questions, learning from each other, that is where I think the value is. And that's an audience and, you know, someone who's been at these things for a while. Thanks.
As I already proposed last year, but last year was probably too early, I think that we need to ask ourselves the original question. The original question is what we want to do through a European dimension, a European dialogue. What we want to do is to see if there are bases for common position that are shared by all the European communities of the internet. And so for me, the best way to do so is, luckily this year, the IGF is at the end of the year, is to check, as we did last year, which will be the topics, and then gather by clusters the various experience. So if, for instance, there have been 3 or 4 local IGF that have discussed about IoT, then put them together and to see if there is, out of the country situation, a common position. Because this could be, in Nuce, this could be the seed of a European position, possibly. And we can articulate through this. And then this could cover, I think, most of the topics, but there will be specific national problems that need to be addressed and that are important to be addressed to the European community of the EuroDIG, and this makes the specificity of us. So I think that we need to have these 2 tracks within the initiative that we can organize at the IGF. And if we do, and if we prepare in advance, I think that this could be quite successful and could be a model also for other parts of the world.
Mariana? I would like to come back again to our region, which is also Europe, but is a little bit different. And we have been thinking about regional initiative and what region, I mean, for instance, Belarus is in. So, first of all, we can call ourselves Eastern Europe, but we have already Central and Southern Europe, NRI, and it covers sometimes Eastern Europe. We can use Eastern Partnership, which includes Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. But the question is, what do we want this national regional initiative to be like? Maybe it would have been useful, again, from my country perspective, to make it a kind of awareness-raising event, educational event, because, for instance, in Belarus, there is a very low awareness of what internet governance is. So to prepare people to participate fully in the international events like EuroDIG or IGF, maybe we can use this NRI just to educate them. It's, again, can be a decision or a way to do something.
So to answer your question, Sandra, I would propose, I think it might be a good idea to address topics that have a strong national or regional component and cross-border issues, so to say, so to differentiate from other topics that are common to every country and global and are discussed in the other workshops. So to give you an example, we have our annual meeting last year, but we had last week a special forum focused on digital rights, and very often it remained in the conversation that the problem with digital rights is that they are understood differently in different regions. Like the right to privacy is differently understood in the US than in Europe. So this sort of differences is what I'm trying to refer to, that would be interested for a space like the one we are talking about, like where the regional initiatives are mainly represented, maybe.
So, I think from my perspective, beyond the themes and the issues, that we can find some synergies among all the national and regional IGFs. One thing that is important is to how can we get new participants from our national community and the European community to participate in this dialogue, because it's important to have in the audience some participants of our national community. It will be the first time that the IGF will take place in Europe, so it's an opportunity for them to get to know about the discussions on internet governance and to be aware of the importance of these discussions. So I think we have to think also about how to raise the interest and how to get our European community to participate and to be part of the dialogue in this national and European session in Geneva. Not to have always the same representatives and the same participants.
So, Sorina.
Thank you, Sandra. So I've been listening and taking notes from what everyone was saying, and I see there are two major tracks. Some people are saying we should talk about the main topics that are being discussed in our IGF initiatives. Other people are saying that we should look at how we work as IGF initiatives. I think there is also a third thing we should try to address or present. Look at us now. We are all representing national or sub-regional or regional IGF initiatives in Europe, and we work with each other and we cooperate with each other. So I think we should showcase that as well. I am talking on behalf of CEDIG now. EuroDIG has been extremely supportive to us, and this is something we should be showing, how we are working sub-regional, regional, and national as well. So if we do something as a European group of NRIs, I would like us to showcase this also. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? We have Anya online. Are there? And Marilyn, if there are any comments from remote? No? Okay, I also heard so far that there is a demand from your side to organize kind of a best practice exchange, allow room for this. But on the other hand, also what Giacomo mentioned, that we might identify the topics we might have in common, might extract commonalities and set a seed for a kind of a European message. And whatever session format we will get from the global IGF and however or how long that would be, let it be 60 or 90 minutes, we could create actually an agenda including those two things. And I was just thinking while you're speaking how we could do this, because EuroDIG would be willing to facilitate this process and to bring all of you together to prepare for such a session. So my first initial idea would be, and you let me know if that would work for you, if you would propose otherwise, if we repeat that exercise, the 3 hot topics, and I mean, it doesn't matter at the moment if these are the hot topics of 2016, which is not so long away, or if these are hot topics of 2017, because some of the IGFs might have their meeting shortly before the IGF, so you might work on the 2016 topics, that's totally fine. But if we do maybe in the same way, if you ask the same questions, what are your 3 biggest challenges where you would like to get feedback, advice from the others? And what are the 3 things where you think you are really good at and where you would like to share your experiences with the others? For instance, when Serena said we had an increasement in business and government, which is something I hear from many directions that this is an issue. Maybe you could identify how you managed and let us know.
We'll explore that.
And EuroDIG might come up with some things where we think we are meanwhile really good at and would like to explain you a little bit more how we are doing it, why we are doing it, and you might think about how to adapt this. On the other hand, we would like to hear your advice at things where we are really have an issue with and where we see challenges. Question again, would that be a workable way if we ask the same kind of format with a Google spreadsheet, where Oksana, by the way, everyone was invited to fill in their topics, so also the Ukraine IGF was invited to populate that Google Doc. And question, would that be a way for you, Giacomo, please?
I think that listening to what has been said by others, we need to add a specific question about if you have a specific problem related to the country, not in general to the internet governance, but one related to the country. So the 2 couple of free questions, but one specific, or eventually not necessarily has to be country specific, it could be sub-region specific, like the CEDIG or like Belarus said. This could be useful and interesting for everybody to know.
And Giacomo, just a question for clarification. Do you mean challenges for the country in terms of topic-wise, internet governance topic, or challenges how to organize the regional, national IGF? What?
I would leave to the country. In my opinion, I think that if the country has a specific problem and address for help to the others is something related to the internet governance. Let's say civil society cannot afford because there are no meetings, or the government doesn't listen, or something country-specific that could be different from one country to another. For instance, Italy, we know that we have a problem because the government component work on one side and doesn't talk with the civil society that works on another silos. And there is every year there is a risk that we organize 2 different IGF because they don't talk each other. That is crazy, but it's a concrete risk.
Oksana?
I would like also to clarify, this table is based on the results of IGF event or discussion?
We just collected the topics which have been discussed. This is nothing about results. It's just what was the main topic in your 2016-2017 event.
Okay, because we submitted our proposal not based on IGF event. We will have our IGF UA 8 on October maybe. But just now we are discussing our propositions to IGF Global, just for clarification.
Are there any other ideas how to...
Just to understand each other. I think that what is valuable for us is that the IGF we assume are a distilling process of a position of a country concerning specific ideas and topics. So, and because they have to be multi-stakeholder, it means that you have arrived to common position that represent all the stakeholders, or you have a minority and majority position, but in any case, you have a view that has been crystallized. While if you treat of topics that need to be discussed, you don't have this crystallized position yet, because you don't know which one is. While for us, it's interesting to know what happened in each country and what was the position, and then trying to pile up the position of the various countries to see if there is an idea or a track for a possible European position. This is my interpretation of.
And we also have some NRIs which are information in Europe, so that will be really useful to have their voices as well, to see what are the challenges, maybe because there are some countries who are trying to establish the IGF for several years, and definitely they do not come to this. So we, in this way, they can show what is the challenge, where the dialogue is missing, etc. So we can include these countries as well in this.
Yeah, it's. By the way, we are not saying our name. The transcript might look awful because it never says who is speaking. You're absolutely right, Liana, and this is actually what we are doing at EuroDIG, including also those who just have an initiative which is not yet recognized as exactly. Question: Would you think we can work on such a session in working groups, or would there be any volunteers? Because what we don't want to do now as a next step is that EuroDIG sending out messages, please deliver, please deliver, please deliver, and then we are organizing something and then we actually miss the point. This is something I would like to avoid. Are there any ones in the room who would join such a working group or such a committee to set up such a session under with the help of EuroDIG? Liana.
Sandra, since not all NRIs are here, I think that would be good if EuroDIG sent to all NRIs in European, and then with their participation also to define which way is better to go. But the first thing is from EuroDIG to be done, to send out even for volunteers as well. So to define the format of working.
Point taken. Any other comments or ideas? Also with regard, I like to remind you that we always set up a booth at EuroDIG. And this year the plan is even, it's Cheng and Tai, now that you're in the room, the plan is not yet finalized if it will be really a bigger European corner. Idea is on the table to make a joint booth with the Council of Europe, with the European Commission and EBU and other European major organizations, so that we really also showcase from this side. But also here, the European NRIs could be more visible, although I know that there will also be an NRI booth again in Geneva. Jorge, you had your national IGF just last week, and you are in the Swiss committee to organize the global IGF. What would you think? What would be really make a difference in terms of how we can present Europeans ourselves in the global IGF, or what would you wish as a Swiss IGF participant organizer? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Good question. Let me think. No, really what I think would make a difference is that there's a strong European voice in the main sessions, in the workshops, so that it is really participating strongly from all stakeholder groups in the different discussions which will take place. If there's also space specific for NRIs, I think that's perfect, that's welcome. But I think also key to be present in all the discussions in the main sessions we will be discussing next week in the IGF open consultations and in the MAC, and also to really participate actively therein and to feed in the European priorities or the European point of view in those discussions and how we shape those main sessions and the workshop proposals so that the European voice is heard, and that it also is it becomes more attractive for the larger audience to take part in the IGF in Geneva. So I think that's what I could recommend. As to the Swiss IGF we had last week, perhaps similarly to Anna, was it before? Or I don't know, Sarina, who mentioned that the participation of the business sector was growing. We also surprisingly had a kind of a little change in the Swiss IGF, because it was dominated in the first two editions by civil society. And last week we had a lot of more presence from the business sector. And one very brainless explanation to that is that they were really engaged and took ownership in organizing some of the key sessions. So they were really in the lead of organizing one session on all issues related to data economy and what is related to that. And that is something which is key to them. And if you give them ownership and you give them also the possibility to shape the topic, although you maintain, of course, a multi-stakeholder balance, they will participate more actively.
Yuri, you want to?
Yeah, I think you said that Europe is at the forefront of the multi-stakeholder model, and yet even within Europe there are various models of multi-stakeholder approach being applied. The one idea could be a workshop where we actually compare the multi-stakeholder models and approaches within Europe, where we try to relay best practices and how to sort of intensify that model and make it more inclusive. That could also be of benefit for others. I mean, not just our own discussion, but basically benefit to others from areas where the multi-stakeholder approach is even more difficult than in some of our countries. Thank you.
I just want to strongly support this comment because these models of multi-stakeholder participation, I think for my country and for our region, this is a crucial point for IGF's success. I think if we make it, so we'll have a proper internet governance process.
Any other comments or suggestions? Well, we are... Giacomo, please.
One question. There has been this very useful work made by Anya and by all the group about this guidelines for NRI. Do we want to see if there is possibility to do something more specific to European situation eventually? This is something that probably we need to discuss within the EuroDIG, because we have some specific issues typical from the region. But of course, it's a very good basis for the work of everyone, and because address most of the problems that have been discussed here.
Giacomo, you mean the document which is currently, developed by the global IGF.
The guidelines for how to build an IGF.
Yeah.
For instance, this could be useful also to make a checkup. Are all the European IGF responding to this criteria?
Mm-hmm.
Or if they are not, there is something that needs to be addressed. This is a useful tool, and if we start to be concrete and apply to our case.
Anya is online actually, and I wonder if she would like to give us an update on where we are currently with these guidelines. Liana, could you ask if she would? Okay, while we're trying to connect Anya, I can keep on talking? No. This process, I've been participating in that one, and this calls was quite an extensive process already. We are working on this since a year already. Is she? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you go closer to the mic?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yes. Oh, finally. Okay. Well, firstly, I would really like to say hello to everyone and to tell you that it's really, really good to see you all from this side of a computer. And I'm really sorry that I can't be in person with you, now even more when seeing you. But I also want to thank Sandra at the beginning for facilitating this process, because it really makes easier for us as well to kind of form on this very important work, which is a collaboration with many of the national and regional IGFs, and also youth IGFs. I'm glad we have representatives there. So somebody is asking me to turn on my camera. I really don't know whether you want that. But in any case, I would like to say that what Giacomo said is very, very important. And I think for almost the last year, we were involved in a very important process of developing, first of all, some guidelines on how to form a national or sub-regional or regional IGFs. Those are incorporated into the toolkit that's been translated to 5 of 6 UN languages now by the volunteers from the NRI community. And there is also another document that we are currently working on, which are the guidelines on the NRI sessions that are going hopefully to happen this year at this year's IGF. So one of the sessions is what we had last year. That's the main session. And the second one is what the NRIs as a community collectively requested from the MAG, which is to have an individual that we call the workshop-like sessions. So those are the sessions that will be focused on a substance of certain matters from internet governance field, and will give the opportunity for the NRIs to say what are the topics of their interest within their countries and regions, what are their approaches, and just to share the best practices with the community. And the way we see it from our side as well is that there is, first of all, a huge demand from the community, and there is also a huge value of it, because it will allow the global community to finally learn about the specificities of certain issues within the internet governance. So that second document that we are working on, the guidelines on NRI sessions, is available for public commenting still. And I think on Thursday this week, we have 2 calls for the NRIs, very, very important calls that are focused on the NRI's representation at the global IGF. We will be also discussing those guidelines. Those guidelines, they consist of, first of all, the objectives of the sessions, but they also consist of a certain set of description how those sessions will be organized, and they will be an input to the upcoming second meeting of the MAD that will be in Geneva from 12 to 14 June. So that's in short something that is available now. Of course, I really don't want to interfere or give any of my opinions because it's up to you as the national and regional IGFs to tell us whether there's something maybe different that comes from this part of the world that should reflect those documents, and should we maybe make it more specific in certain areas. And also what I want to say is that this year's the IGF will give, it seems to me, a lot of space for the NRIs to really say what are their issues. So as some of you said at the beginning, it's really up to us now and up to you to decide how to effectively use this space that is going to be given in December at the 2017 IGF. So that's in short from me. If you have any questions, I am here online, so please do ask and I'll try to respond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anja, for joining us and for giving us this overview. Are there any other comments or questions on this issue, how we are going to prepare for the IGF? Charlotte, please.
In a previous informal meeting, I think there was an idea in the MAG meeting in February. It was shared the idea about to create a mailing list. Was it this mailing list created, or do you intend to?
We are in the process of resolving this issue because the EuroDIG website is hosted under German law. And with German law, you cannot create mailing lists where you simply put people in, where you simply add them. They have to agree. Yeah, but you're applauding Schengen, but the reality is you never get a mailing list working because you never get all of the people to. Just to give you an example, we are 4 people in the EuroDIG board. I couldn't manage to get all of them to subscribe to this mailing list. So how should we manage to get more than 20 NRIs? So we would need a system simply to add people, and we are working on this, and it's with the help of Olivier Crépin-Leblanc and my colleague Rainer. It will be set up shortly, and we will have multiple mailing lists for policy discussion, for announcing, for European stakeholders, for NRIs, so this will be done rather shortly, and then we can simply add people, just ICANN is doing it. They also add and delete people just the way they want. So thanks for the reminder, this is underway. Oksana.
There was an idea to prepare info materials regarding European NRIs. Is it possible to do it before Geneva? Just with very brief information regarding EuroDIG, CDIG, and national IGFs.
Question, Sandra speaking, what kind of material are you thinking of?
Printed info materials, European initiatives.
And
just to share, yes, in the booth.
With a little bit of description, what is, okay.
Maybe half of page for each initiative.
That's a good idea. I take note of that. Now that you make the proposal, would you be willing to work on that?
I'm really extremely interested in mapping regarding checklist of corresponding of toolkits and reality. I'm a volunteer for it.
So what we can actually do, just as call it an action item, that you come up with some questions, some ideas, what you believe should be in this, and I agree, half a page is totally enough. And then we could create a little brochure out of that if you can collect the content and if you share this draft the questions you propose to be asked. You share that with the others before. They might add some questions or edit a question a little bit. And if you would volunteer to do this mapping exercise, I think that's a very good idea, and it would be a good outcome to have such a little brochure to be distributed in Geneva. Very good. Any other others ideas like this? Take the mic, please.
Technically speaking, you will not wait for this before to send the questions, or you want to do the two things together?
I think, first of all, we have to have the mailing list. Then Oksana will send a draft, what she believes should be in that checklist kind of thing. And to all the people saying, okay, these would be the questions we would like you to answer before we send them out for answering them. Do you have anything to add in terms of another question to ask? What would you be interested in? That's what was my understanding.
It'll take a little bit longer then.
Okay, yeah, but we should be able to manage this until. And from the EuroDIG side, we could probably do the printout, the design, and then all this, so that and do the printing stuff as well. I think we would have a budget for this. Very good. Other ideas or proposals? Okay, if this is not the case, Zorina, you were typing. We have actually a second transcript. Would you kindly please sum up a little bit, and then I think we give you back 10 minutes of your life and finish earlier? How does that sound?
Yeah, I was taking notes. There will be a report published on the Digital Watch website, doing a bit of promotion now. We're doing live reporting from EuroDIG, so you will see reports from us, and this is one of the sessions. Just quickly, and I'll go only through the action points because I don't think I need to repeat everything. The latest one about this mapping exercise, creating a sort of a brochure on European IGF initiatives. Then making sure that European voices are heard on main sessions and workshops at the IGF, and then trying to put together a session for European IGF initiatives. And to prepare that session, we will expand on that table and add or ask IGF initiatives to talk about, to mention. In addition to the 3 hot topics they have spoken about at their meetings, also 3 biggest challenges on which they would like to get advice from other IGF initiatives, and 3 things that they are really good at, sharing best practices, and also add a sort of 4th column in the table about a question on the biggest problem or challenge in the region or in the country, either IG related or related to the process of the IGF initiative. And I think that's it. And we will be asking for volunteers for the working group, right? So join whenever Sandra sends the email. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you all for participating. And with this, I declare the meeting adjourned 20 minutes before the time. Enjoy the sun in Tallinn.